Boxing has come front and center on the sports calendar this weekend, really for the last couple of weeks, with a huge fight tomorrow night in Vegas. Oscar De La Hoya against Floyd Mayweather. Our guest is Tom Yankello. Tom is a local guy, as you know. He's been involved in boxing really in every facet, as a manager, a trainer, a promoter. And he's got a big card coming up May the 11th at the Great Hall at Heinz Field. We're going to tell you about that. Tom, welcome. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me on, Stan. Appreciate that.
This fight has come front and center. Now, of course, every fight is the fight of the century, if you listen to the promoters, but this has drawn more attention than anyone I can remember in recent history. Is it because of the quality of the fighters, or because we haven't had an interesting fight for quite some time?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple things. I think that, you know, Oscar is without a doubt one of the most popular fighters in boxing because of his Mexican-American heritage. You know, he really he comes across to the American people and to the Mexican people, and he's bilingual, so that really helps him. That's helped him over the length of his career. He's really a marketable guy because of that. And the quality of the fighter. I mean, he's one of the best fighters over the last 10, 15 years. And Floyd is, without a doubt, he's probably one of the greatest fighters over the last 10, 15 years also. I mean, this fight here will really, if he would win this fight, would really prove a lot. Because, I mean, I think this is without a doubt the best guy he's ever fought. I don't know if we'll find out Saturday night if he's the best guy Oscar's ever fought.
I want to ask you about that because obviously Oscar De La Hoya will go down as one of the great champions of all time. Mayweather had a portion of his career wiped out because of all kinds of troubles. Is Oscar De La Hoya past his prime? Now, he still might win the fight tomorrow, but have we seen the best of Oscar De La Hoya?
I think we have to wait to see tomorrow night, really. But I have an opinion that I don't think so, because I think that he's a kind of guy that has been well preserved, because he's only, over the last 3 or 4 years, he's only fought once or twice a year, really once every 16, 17 months in the last year or two. So, and I don't think he's taken tremendous punishment like some other guys have. So I don't think in the weight class that is, some of the lighter weight classes like 126, 130 pounds guys when they're 35, 36 years old, reflexes and are a little bit different. They get older in those weight classes sooner. But in the middleweight division, and if you take care of your body, like I think Oscar has, I think right now he's still in really prime time, you know, prime time of his career.
As they say in boxing and all sports, but especially boxing, styles make the match. So let's look at these two guys, Tommy, and compare and contrast. How do their styles match up, and how do you see the fight going?
Well, you know, early on, I liked Floyd Mayweather when the fight was first announced. But I've been watching that series 24/7 on HBO, and I kind of things that I'm seeing. I've been privileged and been blessed to be in a lot of championship camps with Paul Spadafora, and back in November with Calvin Brock fighting Vladimir Klitschko. So I know what it is to be in some of those camps. So I've been really watching with a close eye on some of those things that they show in the camp. And I noticed that Oscar's experience is really showing in those camps, because he's very relaxed. He's working on the game plan. Where Floyd is very keyed up. He's always been a talker, but he's talking a lot more out of character than I've really ever seen him do, which tells me something, that he may be a little overly concerned, and a lot more concerned than he lets people to know. And Oscar has been working on his game plan, where every day they show Floyd beating up his sparring. They said he's been beating up his sparring partners. Well, what I would take that to be is that every day that he's in the gym, he is working on, he's fighting the fight. He's fighting Oscar. He's fighting Oscar, where Oscar is just staying cool and relaxed, working on his game plan, And sometimes you leave the fight in the gym. You're too keyed up. Every day you're fighting that fight. You're thinking about every time you're in the ring, you're beating this guy instead of really working on what you need to do to win the fight. And that's what Oscar, where experience comes in. And if you've been too keyed up for too long, mentally, it just drains you.
Yeah, you leave it in the gym, like you say. Well, from De La Hoya, let's look at both perspectives. What's De La Hoya want to do in this fight?
Well, I think De La Hoya has to be very aggressive, because what we've seen in the past, the closest fight that Floyd Mayweather ever fought was against a guy named Jose Luis Castillo. It was a very tough Mexican fighter, and he came right at Floyd, and he put a lot of pressure on Floyd, which most guys that do put pressure on Floyd, he boxes their ears off. He's like the matador, and he has great boxing skill. But Jose Luis Castillo used a good jab and got in, where I feel that Oscar has a better jab than Jose Luis Castillo. So if he fights that game plan with his jab, being aggressive, not just bullying in without a jab. If he does that, he will get outboxed. But if he does that and he puts a lot of pressure, he's a bigger Jose Luis Castillo, And I think he's a faster and a more experienced Jose Luis Castillo. So I think I give him a very good chance to win that fight if he sticks to the game plan. I think if it's a great fight, I think it's going to be Oscar who wins the fight. If it's a boring fight, I have to pick Floyd because I think Floyd could make it a boring fight by moving a lot and boxing and just scoring a unanimous decision on Oscar. But if Oscar can get him in a dogfight or get him and make it a tough fight, I think Oscar has the experience to win that fight.
So Mayweather wants to counterpunch. Right. Now, to do that, will he let Oscar come in and then start picking him off?
I think.
Or will he stay away from him?
Well, I think that's what he's going to use his jab also, but he's going to have to try to. I think he wants to keep the fight on the outside from a distance, because I think Oscar's definitely a better inside fighter. He goes to the body better. He's physically stronger. So I don't think he wants to be fighting that fight in close quarters there. You know, I think he wants to keep that fighter from a distance. And, you know, he has all the ability in the world to do that. I'm just thinking that, you know, maybe he leaves a little bit in the camp, leaves a little bit in the gym, and he's just not on top of his game. And if he's not on top of his game, Oscar's definitely credible enough to beat him.
All right, maybe you go doubleheader. You go Kentucky Derby with Toby Callett, and you go the boxing match with Tommy Yankello. Tom, tell us about the boxing card coming up right down the road from where we're at here at the Coca-Cola Great Hall.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a fight that, you know, Monty Mesa is the main feature. He's been putting on great shows down at Mountaineer Gaming Resort. And this is an opportunity for us to showcase Monty here in the city, where, you know, we can show a lot of business people and a lot of the younger crowd what they've been missing on weekdays at Mountaineer. So the next time there's a Mountaineer card, you know, they'll come down to see Monty fight. So, you know, that's something that, you know, he would still be fighting at Mountaineer. So, you know, this is a teaser for people to be enticed to come down there. And the fight that we have is a fight that's going to be a fight that people don't usually see around this area, because there's not a lot of Latin fighters in this area. Monty his mother's a full-blooded Mexican. He's fighting a Mexican from Mexico. So you're looking at like if you know boxing and you're a boxing fan, it's like Marco Antonio Barrera against Eric Morales. And that's something that we haven't been able to see. You know, you know, like I said, I've been with Paul, I've been with Calvin, but people haven't seen that kind of fight where guys are mano y mano and just, you know, blood and guts, and that's the way Monty's style is, and the guy he's fighting is the same style, so it makes for fireworks. It really does.
How many bouts on the card? Obviously, Monty Mesa is the main, but what about the undercard? How many fights, and where can people go to find out about tickets? And it is at the Coca-Cola Great Hall at Heinz Field. Well,
it's at the great, like you said, the Great Hall, Coca-Cola, and there's 6 bouts. We have a lot of good fights on the card. We got a kid that was a gold medalist in the World Championships named Juan McPherson. He was the #1 amateur in the world at one time, and he's 4-0 right now with 2 knockouts as a pro. We have Chris Archer from Pittsburgh that's fighting on the card. Leslie Perella, who also is from Pittsburgh. So a lot of local people are on the card. Anthony Clark is on the card from Pittsburgh. So any Ticketmaster, tickets are available, or you can call 724-513-7457 also for tickets. That's for VIP packages, and there's a lot of packages and sponsorship packages that people can get for the show. We're expecting a sellout crowd. And like I said, I think it's the most significant fight in Pittsburgh since Paul Spadafore fought Leonard Doreen 2003. I don't think there's an argument on that, because, I mean, you have a former world champion against a present world title holder. Monty's a IBA world title holder. Contreras was a world champion at one time, and everybody that he's fought has been, you know, top 10 in the world or a world champion. You know, sometimes his record might be deceiving because he's fought a lot of fights early on in his career. A lot of these Mexican fighters turn professional at 14, 15 years old, so they suffer a lot of losses early. But in the end, they develop into great fighters. And this kid's had a lot of his losses early on. He's lost a lot of tough, close fights, and like I said, world championship and top 10 fights.
All right, so that is this coming Friday night, 1 week from tonight. And you can check the Ticketmaster or the phone number that Tom gave you. And big crowd expected and good boxing as well. Tommy, good luck with the card.
Thank you for having me on, Stan.
Oh, my pleasure. Tommy Yankello, when we come back, it's your turn. We've covered about everything tonight, but maybe we left a stone unturned. Lines are now open for you at 1-888-RING-FOX. 1-888-RING-FOX.